College of Visual and Performing Arts Art History Club at the University of Massachusetts Dartmouth has also organized the first undergraduate student symposium on the topic of the body in visual culture. We've received proposals in numerous national and international undergraduate and graduate programs. We're glad that some of them are with us today. The body functions as an indicator of identity. A toned and muscular body indicates a laborer, or someone who's concerned with their health, whereas a frail or emaciated body may indicate trauma or eating disorder. An obese body could indicate sloth or illness. Gender, identity and the representation of the body, as well as transformation of the body at the hands of technology. In the three panels, namely gendered beings, corporal reality, and the essence of difference, embodied identities, race and psychoanalysis, posthuman bodies, nature and technology, our speakers will discuss these issues in further details. We are also honored to have our keynote speaker, Professor Gregory Williams, who talked to us about corporal representations in contemporary German art. And without further ado, I'd like to invite our moderator for the first panel to come forward.
A research methodology based in psychoanalysis is particularly useful. The hole in the middle of Kiefer's metaphor might be interpreted as the inaccessible core of the collective unconscious that can be best analyzed through the prototypical figures of Carl Jung's archetypes.
To begin, I'm going to establish some language. Sex as physical body, gender as identity, and the fact that there are more than two sexes because intersex bodies exist.
And the thing conceptualists aim to reject entirely. The hand, that quality that some argue displays the artist's genius, while others claim it is evidence of their narcissism. And others might even argue the hand is a mode of deceit, where artists can trick the viewer into believing something is good, just because it is made well. So what is left for an artist working postmodernism? The artist who is still interested in the physical process of making. How does the hand become relevant again in the context of America in the 21st century?
Wright's Plastic Bodies photograph series is centered on the construction of Southern African-American black female identity. The series consists of 18 photographs comprised of both real-life women bodies merged with an array of ethnic Barbie doll bodies through digital alterations. Wright's work offers an alternative portrayal and a critique of the dominating white beauty standards in American society.
Bourgeois' Arch of Hysteria contains not only the juxtaposition of the male and female as hysteric, but also an exploration of the trauma and pain inflicted on the body. She says, quote, "The subject of pain is the business I'm in, to give meaning and shape to suffering and frustration. What happens to my body has to be given a formal aspect."
Both movies, the filmmakers used special effects in order to produce horror specifically at the site of male abduction.
Physical habitation in this place becomes a vehicle for a particularly nebulous kind of dreaming that is no longer in space or wholly possessed by the person. Ultimately, the space that is in my photographs must be recognizable as inhabitable space. Stereo photographs have a unique ability to simulate the act of inhabiting.
Calls her work carnal art, an artistic movement she created that focuses on transformation of the body through technology and religious rituals. Her focus on technology is key, and in the opening line of the manifesto of carnal art, Orlan writes, quote, "Carnal art is self-portraiture in the classical sense, but realized through the possibility of technology."
What changes is that we have both a tangible and a virtual reality now. And in order to be in this world, we have to be able to be in both of them. The only way that we can be in a virtual world is by using technological devices. And by that I mean iPods, cell phones, computers, that sort of thing. So what's interesting is I could get along fine with my plain organic body in just this world, but having to necessarily navigate the virtual kind of leads us to an argument that we are cyborgs, not necessarily biologically, but behaviorally and experientially, and our dependence on them as appendages for navigating the virtual realm.
Regardless of the format, the telling of traditional jokes has long been a relatively tired narrative form, despite its resurgence during the age of the internet and email message forwarding. For German artists of the 1980s generation, joking was the perfect vehicle for the expression of cultural pessimism. According to a joke theorist, the form has suffered from a loss of the ability to edify, one of the key virtues associated with the wits of the Enlightenment. Carl Hill writes from the 18th century on, the, quote, punch of tendentious jokes often contained a far-reaching yet immediate critique of repressive social structures. This historical background is kept in sight as I explore how West German artists of the 1980s tapped into their country's long-running, if often downplayed or ignored, engagement with the comedic. Despite the term's loss of philosophical strength, the artists in question still occasionally revived wits in its classical form, even if they did so with evident irony. Their return to the tradition of wits took place at a moment in West Germany when, given dominant cultural debates about domestic terrorism and grappling with the Nazi legacy, the humor situation, a term that was used by a critic at the time, was not well established. Perhaps this explains why much of the work discussed in this study is not laugh-out-loud funny. Instead, the jokes are often subtle and indirect, as if in anticipation of an unpredictable and contentious response from the audience.